Well, welcome to another week of Gundam and Chill. Here we are going to be working on Deathscythe again. We are moving right along here with it. And so we're going to be doing some painting tonight for the head unit, and that is actually going to require quite a bit, as there is a number of pieces that all need different colors. Alright. Well, I've also got the chest piece unit that we've already worked on and completed. Looks really good. It's got all the decals and everything. So we're gonna take it off. Just wanted to show it again one more time. And I've got my colors grouped here. So we have our yellows. We have our navy blue, red, green and black. This is going to be painted in three different things. Just for that one piece there specifically. Testing 1 2 3. Do we still have audio? Alright, I think we are good now. With no more echoing. I am so sorry if you got to hear that from the start. The Discord is up if you want to go ahead and join. You are welcome to. Dropping it in the chat for now. That is the Discord for today as well. Jump in, let's talk about Gundam. Let's chill together and see what it's all about. Still talking about Gundam Wing as we build here on Deathscythe. So love to hear everybody's thoughts on the topic and what we got going on here with it. So let's dive on in while we paint today. So we've got like everything except for this piece is going to be fully primed. I did have this piece out there, and this is just as a reminder that we are not going to paint this one. It's going to be fully covered and going to be inside the device itself. Inside the head unit itself. So just putting it to the side. And sorry, you're going to hear a lot of echo from the air compressor. It's not really necessarily that small, but it's definitely not necessarily that big. So I am going to definitely be working on our blacks first. I'm going to just leave our red one here. It's going to be one of my final colors. So I'm going to paint all these pieces black, and then we're going to move probably from our black, clean out our brush, move to yellow, and then move to our navy blue. And then finally, we're going to touch this all up in multiple different instances for multiple different things. So let's check it out. Let's go ahead and get it started. I've already got my airbrush and everything, and we are painting inside. Once again, because I'm using these acrylic paints, it is good to paint inside. But I want to show you first as well, since it's been a while. It's been 2 weeks since we've actually painted. You can kind of see that there's some dirtiness on the brush, even though we clean it out all the time. There's always some residue and stuff left over. And so I've got my thinner up here. It's just nice and easy to get that, specifically airbrush cleaner, correction. We're going to use our airbrush cleaner, and I also have a little bit of alcohol as well up here. This is just a vinyl isopropyl alcohol to just help clean up some pieces. And since I'm also painting inside, I'm using my desk, which I don't like to do because I'd hate to get my desk dirty. But that's the reason why we have all these painting mats and cutting mats as well. And so look at all that. Look at all that black that just came right on off there. Kind of gross. And it just sticks and hangs there. There's nothing you can really do about it. Unless you have what's called an ultrasonic cleaner. But you don't need to do that every single time you paint or after you paint. It's just because we've gone a little bit of time without it that it actually requires a little bit of clearing up here. So I'm going to drop a little bit inside the tube itself. And for today's purposes, I also have a rag that I'm going to be spraying into regularly. Since I'm painting inside, I don't want the fumes and the liquid dust to go everywhere, because this is what will still happen. It's actually all sprayed out. But we should be pretty solid. Should have paint nice and flowing through here. I do have some gloves up here that I'm going to throw on as well. I don't want to get my hand too dirty. And especially I like to paint on my hand as well, as it means to see how things are looking. So, yeah, that's what we got going on today. Reach out if you have any questions, post them in chat, post them in Discord. Love to hear what you guys want to talk about. And hopefully you checked out some other episodes of GunPla and Chill. That way you could see the process as it has been moving along. In addition to that, it's been moving along pretty smoothly. I hate the fact that, once again, it feels like it's the delay game. Nothing of anybody's fault. Maybe sometimes I'm just too impatient and just want to paint all the time. And want to build all the time. So keeping my patience there so that way we can all watch this together. And maybe we'll see what we can do about working up a midweek as well. Midweek episodes, probably I'm looking right now a little bit late on Wednesday nights. Hopefully school for the kids doesn't get in the way, as that could be a factor here in this instance. But one brush is clean. I'm going to check out the other one though as well. Just pulling out the needle. Yep, you can see that there's still some junk sitting down there and hanging out from the last time we painted. Even though once again I clean the brushes each time after use, just additional residue just sits there and hangs out inside the chamber. But once again, just some airbrush cleaner, clean the brush. It helps. Airbrush cleaner is really good, especially some people will say that you don't need it, but it actually helps to lubricate the parts on the inside to maintain a very smooth airbrushing experience. I highly recommend it, especially if you're painting with something like Tamiya. These Tamiya paints do have a tendency to require a little bit heavier solutions to clean them from the brush, which means that it's worse for the O-rings inside of the brush itself. And I think we mentioned that previously as well. But yeah, just keeping the airbrushes nice and lubricated and clean will help it to last really last long and actually work really smoothly as well. So if you can, do it. In one of these bottles, I think I've had this one for the past year, and you can only see it's like $9.95, so it's not really that expensive to get some good cleaning going on for your brush. So, alright, we're going to jump in there. Even this today is going to actually be painted with the black primer, because we're going to have to put, here's the process for this. We're going to put black primer, then we're going to put chrome on top, and then we're going to paint it green, and then from there we're going to do the highlight area, excuse me, not the highlights, but the darker areas by brush specifically. That way we don't have to, reverse washing is a great option though as well, but I like, if I'm going to do a reverse wash on anything, I like to let it sit for a full day before I even touch it again and start washing it, because I do see that there is sometimes a tendency for it to get pulled off when you're doing the airbrushing, specifically if you're doing acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are water-based, and they can also be removed with alcohol. As that is the case, since you're doing that to remove paint from it, you don't want to remove the wash. Letting it cure though over the 24 hours or some time will usually help out with that. But I just, in this instance, we're just gonna hand paint it. It's not very much. I don't have to do. Yeah, you can't even see. It's hard to see in person, much less even on camera. So you won't be able to see too much of it there at all. Alrighty, let's jump on in there. I'm gonna put a few drops inside of here. And I was going back and looking at the original image of Deathscythe, and with the original image from the anime itself, he does not have these yellow vents right here. These are actually just part of the head itself. It's navy blue to kind of give you an example of what that looks like here. Is on the I do have a Deathscythe Hell Master Grade. It's a kit bash from Deathscythe. I'm just gonna take off its head. This is close to what we're mimicking as well for this unit. Close, not, I mean, it's still quite far from, but you can see here that there is actually none of these yellow vents here, so it's kind of going to be unique to just this Deathscythe as well. But here's kind of close to the color and the color layout that we're actually going to see for this unit though as well. So it came out really, really good. Actually, all this white was hand brushed. Some etching and some hand brushing in there to make that happen. But I'm absolutely in love with how that came out. That head looks super solid. There is additionally, we don't have it on this model as well, but the side pieces of the front face unit is actually like a excuse me, whoops, good old school high grade models. But it's actually like a light grayish color. I do have that color, and I think we have the option to mimic that as well. It'll just have to be hand brushed on there, which is not too much of an issue. So here's the faceplate, and you can actually see that there's a super tiny line right here. So this can all be hand brushed right there, that color, and it will really give that exact same appearance though here as well. I haven't fully decided if we're going to do that for it. I'm more or less still probably gonna keep it the exact same as the show, which is just straight white in that instance. But you know, Deathscythe Hell was the upgrade of it, and so I'm actually super curious. I mean, they're never gonna discuss this in the show, or fan fiction as well to support this, but we know Shenlong wasn't fully destroyed because it was captured and everything when Wu Fei was captured as well. But Deathscythe was destroyed by a laser cannon. Kudos to Troy Barton for sticking with his persona that he set up to get inside of Oz and destroying a fellow Gundam pilot's mobile suit. Duo, of course, was crushed. However, though, what I found interesting about that is that the scientists were still able to rebuild Deathscythe, and then, of course, its modifications and improvements. I doubt they had it all from memory, so how in the devil did they get their plans? Or, super silly question, what do they use for, like, storage drives of some sort? Are they using flash drives? Do they actually have hard drives? I don't know. We don't really see that, especially because the computers at that time were still very, how to say, DOS-based. Black screen, green text, my favorite. If you go back and watch the show, they were doing all their programming in that format, which makes you wonder, was the artist for the show, were they putting assembly on screen, like legitimate programming assembly? I don't know any, assembly programming language, so if somebody does know, please let me know. That'd be fantastic and super fun to note. But yeah, so they obviously, that scientist had an amazing memory to be able to recreate some of the stuff from Deathscythe from scratch. Now, granted, we all kind of know that they're all based off of Tallgeese. Tallgeese being the original one. Oh, which, once again, I'm not here to promote ads or anything, but if you are very much invested in Gundam Wing and Mobile Suit Gundam model kits, right now on Kurama Toys is the Tallgeese I'm probably saying this wrong, Fuel, which is a fantastic build to get. It is, imagine Tall Geese had a baby with Wing Zero, and that's what we're looking at. So it's got the Wing Zero, like Angel style wings, with all the Tall Geese body frame as well. It's supposed to be, according to the Glory of the Losers, the original mobile suit, with everything in it. So Zero System and all that jazz, as far as I can understand, or as far as I've seen. So I haven't seen it come out on P Bandai in the U.S. It may still come for that, which would be the preferred option because your shipping is going to be so much cheaper getting it from Bandai, P Bandai US, versus paying for Kurama Toys or using some other Japanese site. So if you can do it, do it. If you can do it, do it. Super awesome mobile suit. I think it's $73 right now in Kurama Toys, which means it's gonna have like a $20 shipping as well to go with it. So plan for 93. But the P Bandai ones, they hold their value amazingly if you're looking to just collect it. But if you're looking to build it and commission it or whatever else the case is there, super fantastic suit to have. I'm excited for it. If it's anything like the other, because I've done the Master Grade Tall Geese too, and if it's anything like that suit, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's super fun build, as well as it's got all those extra perks. And it is an Oz suit. I mean, outside of the fact that we know that Tall Geese is an Oz suit, this Tall Geese Fuel has got tons of Oz memorabilia. When the wings close together, it actually makes like that big old Oz eagle that is kind of symbolic of some Tall Geese stuff that we see as well. So it's pretty awesome. Can't speak highly of it enough. However, though, I don't know what season that would go with. You know, I've already talked about it. I've got the seasons 1, 2, and 3 for my Gundam Wing model kits. I've got season 2 already done with Wing Zero, Deathscythe Hell, Epion, Tall Geese 2, and then I got a Kit Bashed Ultron as well, which I think I'm going to do some more work for it. And the more work it is I've actually got the wing set. That's supposed to go with the Nataku mobile suit. However, almost all the pieces are interchangeable between these two suits. As that is the case, I am super stoked. The only problem is that I don't have both the primer that I use for the white, as well as, excuse me, the green that I use to make this Ultron. And so that's really got my reservations right there with it, because of those two pieces. I obviously want it to match exact, which I might not be able to do. So looking through all my notes to see if I can find it, but it might not happen. Alright, so I've got everything that needs to be prime black is prime black. I'm going to paint this red piece super fast because it's going to be just super fast. And model kit red is just always usually just so bland in the first place. I'm using, once again, Mecha paint for it, and it just makes it a nice bright red. But pretty much any solid red, whether it's Tamiya or Vallejo of any kind, it looks so much better. So much better. But due to that, I got some dark colors here and some unique colors. I have got to go wash my brushes. So let me show you what we've got already so far. Hang out there for a bit, guys. Sorry for the delay. Oh, that's awesome. So, Evo Mikey 4, yeah, let's do this. So, I'm excited for you to join in. Go ahead and post what suit are you actually building. I'm very excited to hear that as well. And so hopefully you can learn a few things here about some Gundam building as well. Some people have said it's maybe his pro level for some of the things I've done. I don't think I'm there yet. I still feel like I'm amateur, but I do love competing, so I've done a few competitions with it as well. Yeah, so I've done a few competitions with it, and some of the competitions are hit or miss where they actually give you a scorecard, and some of them are just like they just say the results. So the last one I went to, they only just gave the results, and I was like, that's not beneficial. How am I supposed to get better? So I've done the white, excuse me, not the white, just the base cleaning with just some water. Rinse it out. Rinsing out your airbrushes with water is a huge, huge deal. Oh, nice! That is a fantastic build there, Evo Mikey. So yeah, so Gundam 00 is one of my favorites. Actually, I got them right here on my desk if you want to see a finished version. However, though, it's not the Seven Swords version. This is the Axon Riser, is the one that I did for it. It does have Seven Swords in general, but hopefully this will give you kind of a little bit of an idea of what this bad boy. That's the size scale. It's just absolutely massive. Kind of given the head unit size of our Deathscythe here, it's about the same, but the torso is significantly bigger on 00 Gundam, and so there's your torso size comparison right there. Let me get this pulled out for you a little bit. Torso size comparison. So, yeah, Gundam 00 is a good one. I did change the blue one mine a little bit from the model kit itself. And Evo Mikey, since this is your first build, wherever you got your kit from itself, I would try to see if you can find like a nice little acrylic sealer to kind of really help out and make that pop. And then also, I use a mecha wash is what it's called. So it's just a wash to get those panel lines in. And those are just like two small little things that you can do to really make your Gundam really pop and stick out as well. This one, the one that you're doing doesn't have too much panel lining, but it's got just enough to be fun. If it's any more, then it's probably going to get too tedious unless you're really going to get into it. So, congratulations on your first build. I'm super excited. If you want, you can also throw up your build itself once you're done with it on the Discord here. I would love to see it in addition to that. The Reddit community also for GunPla is super fantastic, so you're always welcoming of new people to join up in that as well and post their builds. Alright, so cleaning up the airbrush. Yep, it's a tedious task, but you got to do it all the time to make sure you got proper lubrication and that your airbrush is nice and smooth. So, got all that red out, and that red is going to be quite a mess if it not. It likes to bleed in with everything except black. I mean, obviously nothing mixes with black very well, but in that sense. So cleaning my airbrush nice and clean. I do like that airbrush a lot as well. It's a good one. And so we're so now we got everything painted black here, got the primer going for it. I'm actually gonna jump to my silver piece. So what I mean, excuse me, my silver. I say silver, it's actually a chrome is what the color's listed as. Vallejo's air metal based colors are absolutely awesome. So Evo Mikey, thank you for posting in there as well. Don't be too shy about your panel line. The panel lining's a lot more forgiving than you actually think. Buy it once again, maybe just like a mecha wash. If you try to you can even actually a really good place to also start is pencil. If you could just use like a pencil, like a lead pencil, to just draw in the lines, and then you could just literally just wipe off the access pencil lines at that point to make it nice and easy. Painting can be a little more complicated, or as you see right now, is that it's becoming a little bit tedious with just cleaning it out. But it's, in this case, the cleaning it out is super important. And cleaning out brushes is also super important as well. But yeah. Once you get it lubricated enough though from paint and water, it does a good job handling its own business at that point. So it's handling itself quite well. So I've got two colors to paint here. I'm going to paint this thing silver first, which is why I'm actually going silver first, because I want to let it dry as much as possible before I jump into this green, clear green specifically. as well. So I'm just going to paint the whole thing silver real fast. This is my smaller nozzle airbrush, 0.2 0.2 millimeters. That was so hard to say for some reason. Yeah, 0.2 millimeters is what we're going with here. And literally only need like 2 drops. Doesn't need to be thinned as well. It's already just super ready to go in the first place. And so, big thing to note is that when airbrushing, once again, always start your airflow first. Test it out up against something like I'm doing right here with my hand to see how it comes out. And it will really help it to be smooth. And you can see it just, this chrome color is fantastic. We don't have to paint the whole thing though as well. I just primed the whole thing just so I can make sure because it's clear. I didn't want to miss anything, but I only need to do the areas that are going to be shown. Need to paint those specifically. So there we go. That's it. But we're going to let this dry now. So that way that chrome color is nice and set for us to cover it over with green there afterwards. And if you can see in the brush, there is still so much chrome in there. That was literally just 2 drops of the paint, and we fully coated fully coated the areas that we needed to, and we still have so much paint left. So I feel super wasteful there. Not my intentions at all, obviously, but we got a lot of paint going on there with it. I am, once again, because of these pieces, so we're going to paint the yellows first, and we are going to have to wash at least one of these brushes in between, due to the fact that yellow and blue and this chrome and the blue will mix too well, so we have to get the chambers fully cleared out before using them again. I'm going to go yellow first. This yellow is a little bit thicker, so I am adding, oh wait, I don't have my thinner up here. Well, I'm not going to be adding thinner then. So we'll see how it goes. This is a bigger nozzle. It is a 0.3 millimeters. I know, it's so much bigger than a 0.2, but in this painting world, for airbrushing, it really, really is. It's a huge difference. So, but I'm going to go nice and easy on it. Just nice and easy. Not too much airflow. Taking my time here. Yellow is a difficult color to paint. It does well over black, it does well over gray, but it's still just a difficult color to paint. It likes to clump itself up, as far as I've seen. Or if it's too thin, it likes to get too liquidy. And certain paints do that. And yes, I did just say do. Not intentional. And we are almost done with it. Sometimes you do with especially airbrushing, I see that changing it in different angles of the light, you can actually see some spots that you may have actually missed. So I'm seeing that right now, which is why I'm going back over. And so we are looking pretty good here. And there we go. We got our yellow painted once again with the black primer. I love that. I love that combo, especially for something that's supposed to be dark and gritty, like Deathscythe is supposed to be from Gundam Wing. I absolutely love it. Alright, painting the middle piece. This was normally red from out of the box, but once again the original anime version does not have it as red, it has it as yellow. So we are going all yellow for this. This is actually called the V-fin. So if this is your first time seeing a Gundam, this piece is called a V-fin. Putting them together obviously makes a V-ish look. Some of them have more than one pieces though for it, or more than one branch. Wing Zero is a prime example from Gundam Wing. But yeah, it's called the V-fin. The idea is that the antennas and the radar equipment is actually installed in these things, which is why it would be detrimental to lose parts of it, if not all of it, as well to the mobile suit. but that's just what some are listed as. In Gundam Wing, I think that's the case, but in other Gundam series, it may not be so much true. We do see like Freedom Gundam fight in Gundam Seed without his head completely, and he still be able to capably attack his opponents as well. So Evo Mike asked a really, really good question here. So really not knowing about what to do with thinning of paints and stuff. I'm sure if you've already looked up and seen a number of things on the internet, um, a lot of people do thin paints, and it really depends upon what kind of paint you're using. I'm using these mecha colors, which are made by a company called Vallejo. I say it like that because I think that's how it's said in Spanish. These like barely need any thinning at all. They are meant for airbrushing from the start, so they're all together. If you want to thin the paint out a little bit more, it actually gives you instructions on it. So the instructions on, like they even have instructions here for their airbrush cleaning and how to use it. But on the paint itself, it's super small print right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it out. Water-based acrylic brush, exceptional adherence to plastics. Let's see. Use directly or dilute with Vallejo airbrush thinner. I do recommend using the same thinner as the brand of paint that you're using. Brand of paint, not so much the series of paint. This is Mecha, this is Model Air. However, they both use Vallejo thinner. On the flip side though, Tamiya I feel like always needs to be thin, and this is about a 2-to-1 ratio. So what I mean by 2-to-1 is that 2 drops of color, 1 drop of thinner. And if you do too much of that, it'll make it too thin, and what comes out is that the paint has a harder time sticking, and you'll have to do super like thin multi-layer coats though as well. And so if I can actually show you how I can spray this without thinner, and then spray it with thinner though as well, to show you kind of the difference. And this is a really good way to see it, because if this is I don't want to say it's clumpy, but it's not smooth unless you thin it. If you want it to be smooth, you have to thin it for Tamiya. So it really depends upon the paint itself. Once again, not everything needs it. I recommend, this is the recommendation, is buying the thinner for the paint brand that you're using though in general. And usually things work out pretty solid. So that's, and it's really, in all honesty, it really boils down to being just that easy. Well, easy. I'm gonna retract from that because obviously there's some concerns about it, but it does boil down to those things to consider specifically. So, does the paint require it? Yes or no? Vallejo does not. If your paint does get older, I will say that though, if your paint gets old, you will need to thin it. There's no exception for any brand at that point. For that. So I gotta go clean my brushes again, especially because we're painting blue and that can't go through a yellow chamber, and then I've got too much chrome left in the other one though as well. So gotta clean them. Gotta clean the airbrush. A little bit easier if you do want a hand brush though as well. Hand brushing, you do need you obviously just keep like a cup of water, maybe a little bit of alcohol beside you as well to clean those brushes that way, to help out. Real quick cleaning for those type of brushes. I am actually going to put a little bit of alcohol. I'm using acrylics once again, so acrylics are really easy to clean. Also enamels are too, it's just that they're fumes you can't paint inside, and if your place is anywhere like mine right now, because it is like I don't want to say the surface of the sun. That's how it feels like in the desert, like Las Vegas where I used to live, but yeah, it is super hot outside, and as that is the case, I do not want to paint outside. But enamels and lacquers like that, you do want to paint outside because the fumes can be quite toxic, and the stuff to clean it from the airbrushes as well is just as toxic. So mineral spirits can be at that point. It can cause poisoning, and you'll see like specifically even just working with your brushes and stuff. you'll start to see some like heart palpitations and your heart rate will go up in general. It's really not good. So if you can avoid painting with enamels inside, please do so. Please do so. I think Seth Anderson, he's actually a no model. He actually owns a model shop in San Francisco area. Fantastic modeler as well. Super skilled. But he does paint inside, and he's like, yeah, it's all right. It's just he wears a mask, but I got too many people at my place to do such a thing. So too much. So if you are gonna airbrush, I recommend acrylics because you can paint them anywhere. Tamiya is the only one that has it has a warning sign for it for both flammability as well as it can be a little bit toxic. Don't inhale too much of it. But if you just wear a normal paint mask, it'll killer itself out. And just have a ceiling fan on for ventilation. It'll do pretty solid at that point. I've never had any issue for those painting inside with like that. Maybe a complaint from my wife saying, hey, it smells like paint up here, but never get that with my Vallejo paints, which is why I'm kind of sold on them in many ways. And they're also really, if you get them at the hobby stores and stuff, they're super cheap. However, though, Tamiya is even cheaper though. Tamiya is cheaper. I don't like how Tamiya's blend though. If we talk about those paints don't super mix well together. That's just been my experience. Unless you thin them out a lot more than I'm really willing to do. I like to thin my paints as I go, so if I find a color in Tamiya that I really like, I'll just buy that color straight up. I try to avoid mixing in general for it. Just because I've had mixed experiences with it. I did mix one color that came out pretty good. It was like a sand. I used, what was it? I want to say I used white and their titanium gold, and it came out actually like a really fun I don't know how to say it, except it was a metallic sand. But it looked really good on the Gundam. It really matched the color quite well. So, all right, my brushes are clean, and we've only got we got one major color to color tonight for the head, and that is our custom navy blue. This is a custom navy blue. I found out what Gundam I made this for. I made this for a Delta Plus from Universal Century Gundam, or Gundam Unicorn specifically. And I don't know why I made so much. I made a full bottle of this. So I'm going to start with 2 drops. I'm probably going to need more than that to finish up the headpiece here. But the head is a lot bigger than we really want it to. So, and the good news is that there is no decals for the head itself, the head unit. So we should be able to finish this entire headpiece tonight. I'm super stoked for that. Especially because once this painting is done, we're pretty much done. The most complicated part, once again, is the eyes. If there's any piece that you're going to want to focus on, though, it is the eyes. You want those to pop as much as possible, and they really stands out. So that's why I dedicate the time for this piece. So we primed it first. We went with our chrome color. We're about to do our clear green, and then we're going to do the hand painting for the final black pieces, though, as well. So this is painted up. I'm going to put it back on my paint stand for now. We got our final piece here for the front of our face. I'm really excited to see this all together because, once again, this is a unique set. I haven't seen anybody paint this one online, the original colors of the anime, so I'm really excited to see it. At least I haven't been able to find it. If you have been, I'd love to, to see a picture. Drop it on. That'd be great. And so, yeah, actually, look at that. 2 drops covered the whole thing. So, and that's also really, even Mikey, I know you're, looking into it and everything, investing into airbrushing. It makes your paints and your Gundams will really pop in the first place. But secondly, these colors will last a long time. I've had this same yellow for 2 years, and I've probably have only used half a bottle, right? There's a few colors that I've gone through a lot, and that is like this chrome. This is my second bottle of it. And then this red color. This is my second bottle of that. But most of my colors have lasted years. From once again, this is $4 a bottle, so 6 milliliters lasts 2 years. I say that's a pretty big win-win at that point. Makes the Gundams pop and makes them really stand out. And really big thing about painting. I think I've talked about it on a previous episode. Painting is the best way to hide nubs. Nubs being the the clippings left over from when you pull it off the runner. So bad news bears. I said I was going to show it without thinning. The thing is that I've already thinned a lot of this because this is an old bottle too. This is I've had for about 4 years now. This bottle of it, especially because I only need like 2 drops at a time. And so I might not be able to show you what it looks like when it's not thinned. Because I've got it pretty thinned inside. Yeah, it's super thin inside the bottle as it is. I do recommend that when you're cleaning utensils for this, you use straight water, as well as it's thinner, and then go with that thinner afterwards with some airbrush cleaner, because as I mentioned before, this can the Tamiya thinner is a little bit stronger than the thinner for Vallejo, and as that is the case, it can mess up the O-rings on your airbrush and take away some of its life. So yeah, this is already too thinned. I'm super sorry about that. I did just buy a new bottle of this, but I also like to close the container right away for it because these fumes are just not fun to inhale too much of it. But a clear green is the way you want to go. Clear colors in general can be really, really fun, especially Evo Mikey. I'm going to mention one more time that you have the so with that Gundam 00, it's got that kind of greenish, it's actually a greenish blue gem, but the eyes are the exact same color though as well. So I'm sure you got some stickers for it, but to get that exact same look, clear colors is the way to go. You do like a nice soft clear blue on top of like this chrome color here, and then just finish it up with an almost to the point of solid green, and you'll get that exact same color though as well. So it comes really nice to do. Clear colors can be a lot of fun. Look up psychedelic Sanaju, psychedelic Sanaju, and somebody did an amazing like rainbow psychedelic scheme for Sanaju. That looks super awesome, and they only use clear colors. And then of course a chrome base. So you can see I got this clear green going on. And makes that chrome look so super sharp. So super sharp. And this is thinned out. I'm using my thinner brush as well, the 0.2 millimeters, and it comes pretty solid. Oh, and maybe I can show you what it looks like when you mess up. So let me zoom in real quick for you guys and show you what it looks like. This is what happens when it is not thin enough. So when it's not thin enough, it'll get to something like that. There are some speckles and everything right there. And that's that clumping that I was talking about that you can have happen with Tamiya. Yep, it's not zooming in on that. Let me get your zoom in there for it too. Or your focus in. There we go. Look at that clumping right there in the top. This is what happens when you don't thin it out properly. And yep, right there. You got some speckling dots inside of there as well. It won't be too noticeable, but you know, of course, any modeler, you're probably trying to be a little bit perfect, which is totally fine. Do your thing. But in this instance, it's super relatively fresh with the painting. Dropping just a little bit, very tiny bit of thinner on like a Q-tip, you'll be able to get that off and redo it. So actually, and this was by a little tiny bit because I actually pulled off some of the chrome there as well. Right there, pulled off some of the chrome. But we're going to go back to it. We're going to fix it up. So I'm going to take like a second here. The chrome piece won't need much. I do have a brush already up here, which I'm going to use for that. I'm actually going to get my brush wet with my favorite way to get my brush wet. Just a tiny bit of saliva. Sounds gross. Trust me, it's really not that bad. So they just a tiny bit, like just the tip. I know. Doctor that up a little bit. Yep, that's it. Right there. And now we're going to go right back over it. I wouldn't recommend doing this though. Take your time with it. Let it sit if it's going to be your first time. And so I'm actually painting this clear green though much slower this time for that one spot. And yet now it's nice and super solid. So the eyes, this is the, oh goodness, I can never remember the name when we're on here streaming. But yes, the thing that indicates, indicator, that's what it is. Oh, we are actually out of green, so that's perfect. Alright, so we ran out right when we finished up. It looks like I had a hair there too. How about that? Yep, I got a hair on there. Or a piece of lint. No, we're going to let it be. It's not going to show up that much. I may be able to get one more drop. Yeah, I got one more drop in my eyedropper for it, so we should be good to... Oh, yep, there we go. All nice and cleaned up. I don't know, I think that lint might bug the life out of me, so I might have to go get it. I hate it. I hate that perfectionism when it comes to this, but at the same time though, that's alright. That's what it's there for, so they can look super awesome. And so, no worries, I know we're getting close to time though, but we are not going to leave you hanging. We're going to watch it all, we're going to finish the headpiece in general. So we just have one thing left to do, which is to paint the eyes. The black that goes around them. Yep, indeed there was a piece of lint, but that piece of lint made me have to take off all the silver, all the base chrome though as well, to get it off. Kind of sucks, but at the same time though, got plenty of our paint here. And these pieces right here, I can't mention them. Like, they're so hidden, but yet they're so important to have like as perfect as possible. It makes a huge difference when you have the eyes done correctly. And I mentioned before, I've got actually the Gundam 00 actually has LEDs to go with it as well, but the LEDs are just so overbearing if you ask me, and there's no way to really soften them up too much. In my personal opinion, if you like the LEDs, you do you, but for me it's a little bit too overbearing, and so I love to paint them like this because it looks so much closer to the anime, and that's what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm looking to do. Is get that authentic, hey, this is from Gundam itself. There we go. Now it's perfect. Sorry that you, well, actually, I'm not sorry. I'm glad you got to see the errors and then how to fix those as well. I'll put one more coat there. One more coat here on the back to really make it stand out. And now we're done with our green and everything. But I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to let that dry before I paint anything else. And Evo Mikey, it's been a pleasure to help you out with them. I always love to hear your guys' thoughts. I love to hear your additional comments and make this happen. So I'm taking off my glove, and sadly, just because it's a it's a nylon glove, hands get a little bit sweaty. Nobody can avoid it. If you know how to avoid having sweaty hands inside of a nylon glove, I'm sure you have $8 billion idea. But that being the case, though, that's the wrong cap. That being the case, though, I mentioned this because when you're touching your Gundam pieces after you freshly paint them, make sure your hands are clean. Super clean and super dry. If not, what's going to happen is the worst thing possible. You're going to spread paint onto those freshly painted pieces. And ain't nobody got time to fix that. And so we're going to go ahead and actually do some assembling now to finish up the headpiece as we are waiting for the eyes to dry up enough so that we can actually finish with the black outlining for the eyes itself. Very little bit. Just need like a nice little thin brush. I've got a thin brush here with me tonight. I just used it to touch up that other piece. But yeah, just a thin brush here to get that all worked up. In the meantime, though, as we're letting it dry, we're going to go clean out our brushes real fast. I'm going to clean out my eyedropper as well, so that way there's no residue for when I use it for any other clear colors or anything else as well. So, if anything, that's the only bad part about airbrushing is really to me is just the cleaning of stuff. But it's necessary work. It's good work because you want to make sure that those things are all nice and taken care of, and makes a really big difference when you got nice clean airbrushes versus reusing them over and over again. And so if you're looking to get started with airbrushing as well, first off, please don't be intimidated by it. It really is just it's much simpler than you can possibly imagine. It really is. It looks intimidating. The thinning piece can be, that's preference. I've given you my preference, but your best thing to do is to test it out yourself. Do be prepared though to spend probably about like $150 though to get really into it. And the reason why I say that is that you can go on Amazon and find an airbrushing kit, which comes with a compressor, a couple airbrushes, for about like $80 to $110, right? Depending upon how good you want to go with it. Now, granted, it can get to really expensive if you're using Iwata brushes. Like those ones really get pricey. But in all honesty, because we're not doing like super heavy painting. And what I mean by heavy painting is like a lot of merging and mixing of colors, that even like these cheaper Airmaster ones, they work fine for me. That's how I got started with it. Spent $80 in the airbrush and the compressor together as a kit, just one airbrush for me. And then I've just been going from there. This is actually the same compressor that I've had for years now. I've gotten new brushes over time because I found different brushes that I like, but overall in general, it's that's how I've gone with it, and it's worked out so far. I haven't spent too much money on it. The investment keeps going on. Excuse me, it keeps going on and on for multiple times. This actually is an Airmaster brush, and it's actually one of my favorites for, once again, its purposes. It's a 0.2 millimeter brush, super small chamber for my super small colors. I never put really any more than 5 drops of anything in them. Even if I do, I just put 5 more in there. So it's really handy to have that way, and it cleans really well. I got my Iwata one because I wanted one to be a little bit more precise and a little bit more blending though as well. That's what that brush is for. And so that brush has its purpose, this brush has its purpose, and they both work out quite awesomely. My tandem of brushes. So I do also want to note that sometimes Tamiya's do take a little bit more than just their thinner to clean the airbrush, so that's why I keep a little bit of alcohol around me as well with cleaning those bad boys out. The Tamiya does take some alcohol sometimes to really get your airbrush clean, which, once again, not a big deal. Just don't spray too much of it. Granted, you technically could drink ethyl alcohol, but I don't recommend. Excuse me, isopropyl, but I don't recommend it for anything whatsoever. So it's not nearly as harmful to inhale, is what I'm getting at. But still try to avoid it if you can. It doesn't make you feel good. I promise you that. Having been there and done that, makes me think of Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec, where they they're like trying to make, what is it? They go to like that new club in Pawnee and they have like alcohol that they're steaming at people and they're using like an iron for it. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I was like, okay, what is the steaming point of alcohol? If anybody knows that, please post it. You know off the top of your head. If you have to go to Google, that's not fair. Let's just use that on brain knowledge. So almost done here. Cleaning the brushes. Sorry for the delay, guys. Promise you it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it to see this whole head unit come together. We're gonna see our final Deathscythe Hell piece, and then excuse me, Deathscythe. I keep saying that. I keep saying Hell, but it's not. We're gonna see this final Deathscythe pieces come together. I'm super excited. Hope you guys are too. To see what it will look like all assembled, and especially because it gets to go straight onto the body once we're done. There's no decal work or anything. Very little panel lining to do for it as well, which is fantastic. I guess we got some for the face. Yeah, I don't have my panel liner up here. I totally forgot about it today, but it actually would be a pretty good thing to do for this part. So if you guys will actually give me a hot second, I will go get that panel liner, and I'll show you how to do that too. It only needs like one drop to get that thing done. So stand by just for a second. Cue your favorite elevator music. Alrighty, Evo Mikey, this is for you. Let me show you how simple panel lining can actually be. And hopefully it'll put your mind at ease for this as well. So I use specifically just like a very small toothbrush head. The rest, like, excuse me, not toothbrush head, a toothbrush cap. Because panel lining only needs like one drop. And I'm not even joking. I'm going to use the same brush that I'm going to paint with, because they're both black. I'm going to put seriously just one drop in here. And you'll see, this is Vallejo. It's listed as the weathering one, but it's just a black wash. I had my first. I just literally got to my second bottle. The other one I had for like 3 years. So, and I have done this Gundam makes number 73. So yes, I've done 72 Gundams with it, with that same bottle, to kind of put it into perspective. So super easy, super good investment to do. And unlike some other panel liners, it doesn't hurt the plastic because it's just acrylic paint. Again. All right, so I'm attaching it to my makeshift Q-tip here. Excuse me. Now I'm gonna use an actual toothpick. I got one. Right here. Use my actual too thick. And this is literally the only piece that we have to panel line in the entire face, which is super fun and super awesome in that instance. So I'm gonna literally just get my brush, get the tip of it wet, and you don't even have to worry about being like super careful. The panel lining will just paint the line itself. Oh, my brush is being finicky right now. Not the wash, the brush, because of the other paint on there. But yeah, you're just gonna tap in the spots where the paint goes. Sometimes you'll just run across it. Sometimes you can be careless for it. Careless is the word I'm gonna use for it. And then, yeah, gravity will do its thing. The liquid will do its thing for the most part. And you're thinking, holy crap, that looks like garbage right now, because there's like smears everywhere, which is actually a-okay. And the reason why, though, is because after you let it sit for maybe about like, I don't know, 20 seconds to a minute at most, it'll just wipe right off for anywhere that there's not an actual etched in line into the model itself. Trying to get a good zoom in for you for it. It's about as good as I can get. Ah, yeah. Um, you know, um, continue obviously building your Gundam, of course, but I hold off until next week. Next week I can show you how to take care of those things to make them really nice and flush. My big question for you is that do you have sandpaper to go along with it? So really good question. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up here though with the face. So I'm gonna put just a tiny bit of, just touch my tongue to my thumb and just wipe it. And that's literally it. That's panel lining. And you can still see it. Like I still got all the lines there. Because it all sticks in those areas. If you want some lines to be darker, you just go over it literally just again. With this wash and just let it sit. If there's any excess, wipe it off after like 60 seconds too. And even something, you don't even have to sometimes apply anything to your finger like water or any saliva like I like to do. Yep. I go the cheap route using saliva. But yeah, it literally is that simple to do a good panel line. With a wash specifically. Pencil can be just as easy as well, but that's what it boils down to. It can be just that easy. And so, now, that same thing does not happen with all washes. Not all washes are created equal. Some washes do require multiple coats, and some washes are meant for like making stain looks. This specifically is the wash that I use for it that does great for panel lining. Vallejo's line, you can't see it, but it's meant specifically to make it look like it's a mecha. So they built it. They built this line or created this line of paints for Gundam building, believe it or not. So that is literally all the panel lining that we have to do for this head. One can argue that this back of the head piece right here could use some panel lining. I think we're gonna do it just for fun. Just so once again, it's gonna look alright. I'm gonna be once again super careless because it's utterly forgiving. And with it being vents and everything, it kind of makes sense that you would have some drag and stuff from whatever colors and whatever gases are coming out of these vents in the first place. So, yeah, just carelessly wiping over it and then going right back over with my finger. My finger gets a little bit dirty on this. But yeah, that's it. That's literally how I panel line right there. And we've got a nice bold declaration for all those lines in the back of the head now. It literally took no time at all. And so we are going to assemble the head and then call it a night. Next week we're going to start working on the arms, I think is the next unit piece. Yep, it's the arms left and right. We do have to change up some of the colors on this though as well to match the anime version. And so pulling out all my pieces for the head here. Looks like, of course, now that we're ready to assemble it together, one of our pieces is misplaced. Happens more often than we all want. Oh, nope, I actually am not going to assemble it because I forgot I got to paint my black. Which we're going to do now. So this is our eyepiece. So we're going to outline the eyes themselves with actual black paint. So we're going to get some black paint here. I'm actually just going to use my black primer again. And I'm even going to put it in my same container with my panel lining. It works well. It has a little bit different color than actual black paint. I know that sounds silly, but it does have an actual little bit color, but it should be taken care of with the actual black wash. So I got it's a long brush as far as like the bristles are, but it's still very, very thin in general. And then we're gonna be painting with the tip of this brush in the first place, so it's not about how much pressure you add to it, just as long as it barely touches. So barely touching, we are gonna go ahead and get this filled in around the eyes. And don't worry, and the reason why you want to barely touch is because you're not looking to apply too much pressure. That leaves streaks. But additionally, that also makes for errors. It's better to paint multiple times, in multiple coats, excuse me, than to have to redo these pieces. And also, the softer you brush, the easier it is for the brush to just be moved by the actual like eye outline itself. And then if you mess up because you painted softly, it comes off really, really easy, even with just, rubbing it with your fingers softly. That's true with acrylics, maybe not so much with enamels, but with acrylics that's very true. And so we got one eye there specifically done. We're going to go to the other side. And we are almost done here. Super pumped about it. Almost to the end here with the eyes. I know the light's a little bit harsh overhead. And it just, I can turn it down, see if you can see more colors. Yep, there we go. Now we got some nice outlined eyes in general. So let me see if I can get a good focus for you in this. Show you what it looks like completed. Yep, there we go. Look at that. So now we got our eyes outlined. That was just simple brushing. It's probably 2 coats in general to get it to look like that. But once we put it in the actual head unit itself, because we use that chrome background and the clear green on top of it, it's really just gonna straight up look real. It's gonna look real. That's the only way I can describe it. Is that it looks like it's actual just coming from the Gundam. Not fully lit up like an LED would look, but I promise you it's worth it. It is worth it. But what's even really more worth it is when you have the final piece that you moved aside from the beginning of the day to put this all back together. And to make this head unit whole. I brought all these like paint clips that I have up here for painting today, but obviously needed like none almost, it felt like. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start assembling. I like to make sure my hands are clean as well, so give them a good wipe down or something. That way no paint residue sticks and follows onto your model pieces after painting. I'm sure we will find that other one. It's clearly just not going to be right this hot second. Alright, but we can build still a lot of it without it. Putting this here. Got our red piece that's going to go into our facial unit. And another reason why your hands you want them to be dry for this is because literally you're going to be pushing things. So that means you're going to imprint paint onto those spots if you do not have clean hands. So we got the first piece done there. And then we're going to place this into the front as such. Is what it looks like. We're going to take the front faceplate. This is the area that I'm super excited to see what it's going to look like, because once again, this does not exist on the normal mobile suit. But what does this color scheme look like together? Oh dang, that is what I'm talking. I am absolutely in love with that. The blue and yellow there. Now, actually, I'm going to take it back. This would look really good with some panel lining in there though too, to finish that off. But it looks just absolutely phenomenal. Oh, that blue and yellow combination is... Granted, I loved it in the first Deathscythe that I did, but it looks supremely well blended this time around. So I'm glad we stuck with it. Glad we didn't go back to the original anime colors for just these little pieces, but it really, really makes that pop. And the reason why this yellow looks the way it does, once again, that's because of the black primer. That yellow does not normally look like that. It's because of the black primer that it's got that nice darker effect for it, which really sells the whole Deathscythe is stealthy, Deathscythe is dark kind of look that we're going with here as well. So primers to me make all the difference in the world. Invest in them. They will really make any Gundam really stand out when doing primer properly, or just doing the proper colors to go with the colors that you're looking for as well. So I absolutely love it. I love a good primer. So we got our front of the face complete. And alright, well now we have to find that piece that we're looking for. We're actually going to put this on though too. I'm excited to see this looking together. In addition to it, so our yellow V-fin. Got it in place. Putting on this would, once again, this was normally a red cap, but we're using yellow here because that's closer to the anime. Oh, buddy, I got a chip in the paint from putting that piece on. Right there. We got a chip there. Have to brush that bad boy to fix it up. We could take it off and airbrush it again, but it's a nice dark color, so it'll be easy to fix up with just a paintbrush, just for that little dot. Be real easy. So we'll fix that real fast with this final bit of assembly here. Just had to rinse that wash off my paintbrush really fast. And it really seems like, of course, now that I'm ready to assemble that headpiece, I cannot find that part that I put aside that did not need painted to save my life. The very, very fortunate, beyond fortunate situation is that I actually have an extra. Reason being is because that Deathscythe hell that I showed at the beginning of today was an actual kit bash, so I have an extra full set of a head for this Gundam. And as that is the case, I'm going to take it apart from there for the time being to assemble this one today. And of course, we just gotta find it. Big bucket of parts. This is what happens when you build a lot of Gundams. You just collect the parts over time. You can see there's the legs from the old one as well. But its head unit is somewhere in here. And actually we can give a really good comparison at that point though as well. It's like what the two heads are supposed to look like. What it came out with and what it's supposed to look like in general. Of course, just stick with me for a little bit as I look through the box of stuff for it. So outside of the V-fins, that's the original. That's the original head. I really like that darker color scheme so much better. It really just it hits home to what Deathscythe is supposed to be about once again for me. So we are going to take out the piece inside of here real fast and in a hurry. It's probably actually going to be the hardest part of tonight now is getting this out because it's in there nice and good. Probably need my tweezers to wiggle it out. Alright, so this is the piece. There's clearly another one on my desk somewhere here today, but we're not going to worry about it right now. There's the difference in between the two faces as well. One panel lined, one red, versus one that is not. So that's the difference that it can actually have with it. Difference between the head colors as well. So this is what the face looks like with what we did today versus what it actually is. Once again, and it's just going to make all the difference. Final few pieces going into place. Also, when you paint this guy like this, you don't have to put any stickers on it. Which to me is another win-win. Got the eyes in place. It actually goes in very interesting, it looks like, as well. Really interesting setup. Because it doesn't feel like it's flush. And because it wasn't. There it is. It's flush now. Eyes look super solid in general. You can see, like, look at the difference in those eyes now. Like, they really just look like they're supposed to be there. And then last but not least, the final piece for the head of the Gundam itself. Requires a lot of pushing though. Which means be careful, make sure your hands are clean. I can't stress that enough. Because you do not want to spread paint into the final unit. I got it off camera just for a little bit to apply some additional pressure. But there is our Deathscythe head now. Let me touch up that one spot that I mentioned. Just needs like a little drop of paint to finish it up. Actually, probably even less than a drop. just touch my brush to the actual color. Found another spot that needed some touching up too. And there it is. There's our Deathscythe head. Finish all the painting tonight for it. Absolutely in love with it. Hopefully we're doing Deathscythe some justice, which is apparently America's Gundam. Shall we call it that? Because it's like one of the most favorite popular ones in America. Which I don't get it. Maybe just because we love the pilot, but it's a relatively simple Gundam. Just a big old scythe. That's what we got as our weapon. I guess we have that. Let's call it the drill shield. But there we go. That is our head unit now for Deathscythe. Just a little bit of panel lining that we did for the front of the face, specifically for the back of the head though as well. We got it. Now the head being as important as I've talked about it so far as well, this would be a great time that now that we finished with this step to go ahead and actually like seal over this portion as well to make sure that no injury happens to the Gundam. And then there's obviously the back of the piece though as well, nice and once again looks super solid green. So anyway, I kept you all over much longer than what we anticipated, but I did want to promise to have a finished head unit though today, which is where we are at. So enjoy the rest of your evening. We will see you guys next week on GunPla and Chill. Talk about some Gundams, talk about some things about it, talk about how to build them. We will catch you all later. Have a good night.